Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So the last class, we took the statement of the author, alayhi rahmatullah, wal-imanu bi'adhab al-qabr wa munkarin wa nakir. And to believe in the punishments of the grave, and munkar and nakir. So as we mentioned last Saturday, the last class that we had, that one of the fundamental principles in terms of our belief is to believe in the punishment and the bliss of the grave. That when a person dies, whether that person is a believer or a disbeliever, they're either going to be in a state of bliss and happiness while they're in their grave, awaiting the day of judgment, or they're going to be in a state of punishment. And we mentioned that the abodes or the dwellings that a person is going to go through, or the different stages that he's going to go through. We mentioned that there were three. Where were they? Very quickly for those who were here. Ad-dur thalath. Mahi. Ad-dunya, this world, life of this world. The barzakh, which is when a person is in their grave. And then the hereafter. These are the three abodes. And depending on a person's situation in the grave, if a person is given the success to answer those three questions: who is your Lord? Who is your prophet? And what is your religion? Then this will determine the state in which a person is going to be in while he's in his grave. So if a person is given the success to answer those questions, then in general, his situation is going to be good. If he was a sinner, as we mentioned, there's detail to it. If a person died upon major sins and he didn't repent, and we mentioned the hadith of Anas, for example, if a person used to spread gossip, or he didn't guard himself from urine, these are reasons why a person can be punished in his grave. But the person who's truly going to be in a state of loss and in a state of torment is the munafiq and the murtab, the hypocrite and the person who is in a state of doubt. When this person is asked by the two angels, who is your Lord, what is your religion, and who is your prophet, he's not going to be able to give the correct answer. Even if he knew the answer in the life of this world. When he was alive, he might have had the knowledge to answer these questions, but when he's in that situation, he's not going to be able to give the correct answer. نعم. So we're going to continue where we left off. قال الشيخ الفوزان حفظه الله وفي القرآن إشارات إلى عذاب القبر. He mentions that in the Quran there are references, there are indications that point to the punishment of the grave. قال تعالى وَلَنُذِيقَنَّهُمْ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ الْأَدْنَى دُونَ الْعَذَابِ الْأَكْبَرِ. And we will surely cause them to taste a lesser punishment before the greater punishment. قالوا هذا عذاب القبر. So some of the scholars have said that this is with regard to the punishment of the grave. وَقِيلَ عَذَابُ الدُّنْيَا. And other scholars have also said that this is with regard to the punishment in the life of this world. I'm just reading. Naam, perhaps that's the most correct opinion, but I'm just reading what the Shaykh mentions. He says, وَقِيلَ عَذَابُ الدُّنْيَا. And if you go to the tafsir, it does mention عَذَابُ الدُّنْيَا. That's what appears to be the most correct view in terms of what's being implied by this verse. وَفِي قَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى فِي فِرْعَوْنَ وَقَوْمِهِ. And likewise in the statement of Allah Ta'ala regarding Fir'aun and his people, النار يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا. And they are exposed to the fire in the morning and the afternoon. ويوم تقوم الساعة أدخلوا آل فرعون أشد العذاب. And on the day, and when the day of judgment is established, it will be said, cause Fir'aun's people to enter into the worst punishment. يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا هذا في القبر. So the people of Fir'aun, they're exposed to the hellfire in the morning and the afternoon. This is in the grave. لما ماتوا صاروا يعرضون على النار غدوا وعشيا. When they died, and we all know how they died, they drowned. This was a punishment. They became exposed to the hellfire in the morning and the afternoon. فإذا قامت القيامة يقال أدخلوا آل فرعون أشد العذاب. And when the day of judgment is established, it's going to be said, cause the people of Fir'aun to enter into the worst punishment. وقال تعالى, and Allah Ta'ala said, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. The meaning of the verse, and whoever turns away from my remembrance, then we will cause him to live a hard life, a difficult life. And on the day of judgment, we will resurrect him blind. قَالُوا مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا فِي الْقَبْرِ. Some of the scholars have said that what's intended by ma'ishatan banka, a hard life or a difficult life, this is with regard to the grave. And he mentions, or is mentioned right here in the hashiyah, in the footnotes, that Ibn Kathir, he mentions in his tafsir, أنه ثبت تفسير معيشة ضنكا بعذاب القبر عن أبي سعيد الخضري وأبي هريرة رضي الله عنهما. So Ibn Kathir, he mentions in his tafsir that it has been established regarding the tafsir of this word, or this part of this verse, ma'ishatan danka, a difficult life. That what's implied is the punishment of the grave. And this was reported by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhuma. And both of these are companions. So the Shaykh, he says, فَالْأَدِلَّةُ عَلَى عَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ مُتَوَاتِرَةٌ. So the proofs and the evidences that establish that there's going to be a punishment, or there's going to be punishment in the grave, are mutawatira. What's mutawatira? We mentioned this term before, mutawatira. When you hear this term, Naam. So this is with regard to the science of hadith, that the hadith is established by numerous chains of narrations. It has many narrators. Essentially, is no way that many people could have lied, right? It's established. It's established. So the proofs and the evidences regarding the punishment of the grave is mutawatira. It's numerous and it's established. The Shaykh, he doesn't mention any ahadith. He actually, the last class, he did mention some ahadith. I take that back. He did mention some ahadith, but there's another hadith that can be used as well, that comes to mind. And this hadith is found, I believe it's in the Sahih of Imam Muslim or the Sahih of Imam al-Barbahārī. عن زيد ابن ثابت قال بينما النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في حائط لبني النجار على بغلة له ونحن معه. So this companion Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu, he narrated that we were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dwellings of Bani Najjar, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was riding on his mule, and we were with him. إذ حادت به فكادت تلقيه. So all of a sudden, the mule that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was riding upon, it became startled. فَكَادَتْ تُلْقِيهِ. It was about to throw him off. وَإِذَا أَقْبُرُ سِتَّةً أَوْ خَمْسَةً أَوْ أَرْبَعَةً. And then they saw there were 6, 5, or 4 graves. فَقَالْ مَنْ يَعْرِفُ أَصْحَابَ هَذِهِ الْأَقْبُرِ. So the Prophet ﷺ said, who knows the people in these graves? فَقَالَ رَجُلٌ أَنَا. So one of the companions said, I know them. قَالْ فَمَتَى مَاتَ هَؤُلَاء. The Prophet ﷺ said, when did they die? قَالْ مَاتُوا فِي الْإِشْرَاكِ. He said they passed away in Jahiliyyah. They died upon shirk, but they died before the advent of Islam, before the Prophet ﷺ was sent as a prophet and messenger. So the Prophet ﷺ said, فَقَالْ إِنَّ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ تُبْتَلَى فِي قُبُورِهَا. He said, indeed, this nation is going to be tried in their graves. فَلَوْلَا أَلَّا تَدَافَنُوا لَدَعَوْتُ اللَّهَ أَنْ يُسْمِعَكُم مِّنْ عَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ الَّذِي أَسْمَعُ مِنْ. And the Prophet ﷺ said, was it not for the fact that you would not bury your deceased, then I would supplicate to Allah to allow for you to hear the punishment of the grave, that which I hear. This hadith is, it's not really a long hadith, but there are numerous benefits. One of the benefits that we get from this hadith is the statement where the Prophet ﷺ said, فَمَتَ مَاتَ هَؤُلَاء. When did these people die? When did they pass away? مَاتُوا فِي الْإِشْرَاقِ. They passed away in Jahiliyyah, upon shirk. They died upon polytheism. One of the benefits that the scholars extract from this is that these individuals, they were being punished. They were being punished in their graves. And this is the reason, if we go back to the beginning of the hadith, the mule of the Prophet ﷺ, what happened to it? It became startled. Right? It became startled and it was about to throw the Prophet ﷺ off of it. The reason is because this mule could hear these individuals in their graves being tortured. There's another hadith, it mentions that everyone hears the inhabitants of the grave being tortured except for al-Thaqalain, except for mankind and jinkind. But the point of reference right here, matu fil ishraq, they died upon shirk in Jahiliyyah. What's the point of benefit that's taken from this? What can you deduce from this? We have a verse in the Quran, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We don't punish, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, and we do not punish until we send a messenger. These people, they died in Jahiliyyah. So what does that tell you? Naam, so the message came to them. The message came to them. So perhaps the da'wah of Ibrahim alayhi salam reached them. Or another prophet, Isa alayhi salam, his da'wah, which was a tawheed, all of the prophets and the messengers, they called it the same thing. But the point is, the da'wah came to them. So therefore, this is the reason why they were being punished. But if a person, for example, is truly ahlul fatra, right, which is the term that's applied to a person who lives in a time where there's no prophet, or he never hears about Islam. You have, for example, they say like in the Amazon or in other localities where, you have people, they're disconnected from civilization. Right? There's no technology. They don't have no internet. They don't have nothing. They're basically isolated from mankind. These are the type of people that it could be said that they are ahlul fitra. If they were to die, they never heard about Islam, then in the hereafter, they're going to be tested. But these particular individuals that are being referred to in this hadith, the fact that they were being punished in the grave, it shows that the message, right, of Islam, or the message of a tawheed from one of the previous prophets, it came to them. And this is the reason why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in the hadith, one of the hadith, that his father was in the hellfire. He mentioned that his father was in the hellfire. And also is another hadith, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow for him to supplicate for his mother, and he was prevented. But he was allowed to visit her grave. The scholars, they say this is a proof and evidence that shows that the da'wah of Ibrahim came to them. When they were alive, the message came to them, but they didn't accept it. So this was the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said that my father, it was a man that came to him. He said, my father and your father are in the hellfire. So this is one of the benefits. Also at the last point that we already mentioned. فَلَوْلَا أَلَّا تَدَافَنُوا. And you can imagine, if it wasn't for the fact that you would not bury your deceased. Right? If we could hear, people in their graves being tortured, that would prevent people from burying their deceased. Because a person, when they bury their deceased, they don't know if they're going to be punished or if they're going to be in a state of bliss. So a person would be hesitant. They would be scared. And also they would be, fearful that that person's situation, which could be their father or their mother or their brother, could be exposed to everybody. The fact that person is being punished, that means that individual didn't live a correct, upright life. So there are many benefits that are taken from this hadith, but the main point is what? this is another proof and evidence that establishes the punishment in the grave. So the Shaykh, as he mentioned, فَالْأَدِلَّةُ عَلَى عَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ مُتَوَاتِرَةٌ. Right, the proofs and the evidences for the punishment of the grave are numerous and they're many. فَمَنْ كَذَّبَ بِعَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ مِنَ الْمُعْتَزِلَةِ وَمَنْ نَحَى نَحْوَهُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مُخَالِفٌ لِلْأَدِلَّةِ الْمُتَوَاتِرَةِ. So whoever denies the punishment of the grave, and there are people who deny it. For example, the Mu'tazila, or those who hold a similar belief, then he is in opposition to the proofs and the evidences that are numerous and established. وَيَكُونُ مُخْتَلَّ الْعَقِيدَةِ وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And this person, he is deficient when it comes to his creed. وَفَاقِدًا لِأَصْلٍ مِنْ أُصُولِ الْعَقِيدَةِ وَهُوَ الْإِيمَانُ بِعَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ. And likewise, this individual, he's lacking when it comes to one of the fundamental beliefs, which is believing in the punishment of the grave. فَإِنْ كَانَ مُتَعَمِّدًا عَارِفًا بِالنُّصُوصِ لَكِنْ يُكَابِرُ وَيَنْفِي فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ. But if a person, this is the detail that's very crucial to mention, because now the question could come, we just mentioned that is part of our fundamental beliefs, to believe in the punishment of the grave, the punishment or the bliss of the grave. So now if a person was to say, I don't believe in that, I don't believe that's the case, what's his situation? The Shaykh, he mentions if this person, he knows the proofs and the evidences from the book and the Sunnah, from the Quran and the Sunnah, and he intentionally, he's haughty, he's arrogant, and he denies it, this person is a disbeliever. So this is the situation of the person who has knowledge. If a person has knowledge, he's not like a person who doesn't have knowledge. He says, أَمَّا إِذَا كَانَ مُتَأَوِّلًا أَوْ مُقَلِّدًا أَوْ جَاهِلًا فَهَذَا لَا يُكَفَّرُ. But if a person is مُتَأَوِّلًا, right, he saw the text, but he understood it in a manner that's not correct. Or he's a blind follower, he's following somebody else. Or he's ignorant, then he's not to be declared a disbeliever. لَكِنْ يُضَلَّلْ. However, he is astray. وَلَا يُكَفَّرُ. He's not to be declared a disbeliever. قَوْلُهُ. And the statement of the author, وَمُنْكَرٍ وَنَكِيرٍ. And munkar and nakir. Munkarun wa nakir isman للملكين اللذين يأتيانه في صورة مروعة. So these are the two names of the angels that are going to come to a person while he's in his grave, and they're going to have an appearance that is scary. They're going to have an appearance that's not going to be pleasant. يقال لأحدهما المنكر والآخر النكير. One of them is called munkar and the other is called النكير. كما جاء ذلك في الأحاديث, as it has come in ahadith. And the hadith that's mentioned right here, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قبر الميت أتاه ملكان أسودان أزرقان. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said that when the deceased is buried, then two angels, blue and black, these two angels, they come to him. يقال لأحدهما المنكر والآخر النكير. One of them is called munkar and the other is called النكير. Into the end of the hadith. The next portion that we're going to take, or the next point, قال المؤلف رحمه الله والإيمان بحوض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And to believe in the hawd of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is translated as the pool, a pool. وَلِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ حَوْضٌ. And every prophet has a pool. إِلَّا صَالِحًا عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ فَإِنَّ حَوْضَهُ ضَرْعُ نَاقَتِهِ. Except for the Prophet Salih alayhi salam, his hawd or his pool is the udder of his she-camel. So the Sheikh Fawzan, he says, كذلك من أصول أهل السنة والجماعة الإيمان بالحوض. So likewise, one of the fundamental beliefs of أهل السنة والجماعة is to believe in the hawd. فالرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم له حوض. The Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم has a hawd, a pool. ولكل نبي من الأنبياء له حوض ترده أمته. And every prophet, think about this, we don't know how many prophets there are. Right? How many prophets are mentioned in the Quran? 25. Is much more than that. Every prophet that was sent to mankind has a hawd. On the Day of Judgment, they're going to have this pool. And their nation is going to drink from it. لِأَنَّ النَّاسِ يُصِيبُهُمْ عَطَشٌ شَدِيد. And this is because on the day of judgment, the people, they're going to be extremely thirsty. And one narration, it mentions that the sun is going to be brought close, the distance of a mil. Right? It's going to be very close. Some people, they're going to be sweating so profusely that their sweat is going to be up to their ankles. Some of them, their sweat is going to be up to their knees. Some of them, they're going to be drowning in their sweat. So on this day, on the day of judgment, people, they're going to be extremely thirsty. يَحْتَاجُونَ إِلَى الْمَاءِ. Right? They're going to need to drink some water. وَحَوْضُ نَبِيِّنَا هُوَ أَعْظَمُ الْحِيَاضِ. And the pool of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the greatest of these pools. طُولُهُ شَهْرٌ. Right? The length of it is a month. If a person was to walk side by side, right? The hold is right here, and he's walking side by side. It's going to take him a month to reach the end of it. وَعَرُضُهُ شَهْرٌ. And its width is a month's distance. مَاؤُهُ أَشَدُّ بَيَاضًا مِنَ اللَّبَنِ. This water is whiter than milk. Right? The water of this hold is whiter than milk. وَأَحْلَى مِنَ الْعَسَلِ. It's sweeter than honey. وَآنِيَتُهُ عَدَدُ نُجُومِ السَّمَاءِ. And the vessels or the cups for this held is going to be similar in number to the amount of stars in the sky. مَنْ يَشْرَبُ مِنْهُ شَرْبَةً لَمْ يَظْمَأْ بَعْدَهَا أَبَدًا. And if a person was to drink from the held of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's not going to be thirsty again after that. And this is based upon the hadith that's found in the Sahih of Imam Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Hawdi masiratu shahr." He said, my hawd, my pool, is the distance of 1 month span. وَزَوَايَاهُ سَوَاء. And its width is the same. It's going to take a month. It's a month's distance. وَمَاؤُهُ أَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْوَرِقِ. Its water is whiter than silver. وَرِيحُهُ أَطْيَبُ مِنَ الْمِسْكِ. And its fragrance, right? This water that's in the hawd of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, it smells nicer than misk. وَكِيزَانُهُ كَنُجُومِ السَّمَاءِ. And the amounts of cups that are going to be at this hawd is going to be similar to the amount of stars in the sky. فَمَنْ شَرِبَ مِنْهُ فَلَا يَظْمَأُ بَعْدَهُ أَبَدًا. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever drinks from this, he's never going to get thirsty again. The Shaykh, he says, وَيُذَادُ عَنْهُ الْمُرْتَدُّونَ الَّذِينَ ارْتَدُّوا بَعْدَ الرَّسُولِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. But now this is the detail with regard to this. So we already mentioned every prophet is going to have a hawd that his nation is going to drink from. But is this for everyone? No. يُذَادُ عَنْهُ الْمُرْتَدُّونَ الَّذِينَ ارْتَدُّوا بَعْدَ الرَّسُولِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. So the people who apostated after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're going to be driven away from the hawd. They're going to be prevented from drinking the water from this hawd. وَيُذَادُ عَنْهُ مَنْ كَذَّبَ بِهِ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمْ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْبِدَعِ. And likewise, the people of innovation, and Allah knows best, they're likewise going to be driven away. Those who deny the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This portion right here, we're going to finish with this portion, but this portion is very important because we just took the statement, قوله وَلِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ حَوْضٌ إِلَّا صَالِحًا عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ فَإِنَّ حَوْضَهُ ضَرْعُ نَاقَتِهِ. So he said, every prophet is going to have a pool, except for Salih alayhi salam. His pool is going to be the udder of his she-camel. The Shaykh, he says right here, هذا الاستثناء لم يثبت فيما أعلم. So the Shaykh Fawzan, he says this exception, saying that Salih, his hawd is going to be the udder of his she-camel. He said this exception, لم يثبت. It's not established. It's not authentic. It's not authentic. والصواب أن لكل نبي حوضا كما جاء في الحديث. And what's correct is that every prophet is going to have a pool as it has been established in the hadith. And one of the ahadith that is used to establish this is the hadith of Samura ibn Jundub radiyallahu anhu. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إِنَّ لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ حَوْضًا. So, right, this is very clear. The Prophet ﷺ said that every prophet is going to have a hawd. They're going to have a pool. There's no exception to this. وَإِنَّهُمْ يَتَبَاهَوْنَ أَنَّهُمْ أَكْثَرُ وَارِدَةً وَإِنِّي أَرْجُو أَنْ أَكُونَ أَكْثَرَهُمْ وَارِدَةً. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the prophets, they're going to be boasting amongst themselves on the Day of Judgment as to which of them has the most individuals coming to their hawd. And I hope that I will have the most people coming to my hawd, yani to my pool on the Day of Judgment. And as we know, the Prophet ﷺ, he is the best of the prophets and the messengers, and his ummah is the greatest ummah. He's going to have the most followers, and his hawd is going to be larger than any of the other prophets and messengers ﷺ. So with that, inshallah, we'll suffice. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.